This Steve Jones Show podcast is now loading. The Steve Jones Show podcast is presented by Sunbury Motor Company, Purdy Insurance, and bringing you an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Purdy Insurance, Brewers Outlet, and Sunbury Motor Company. Now from the Sunbury Motor Studio, here's Steve Jones.
Great to be with you in this half hour, being brought to you by our good friends at Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket. Imports, domestics, microbrews, the best selection of beer anywhere. Wine coolers, water, soft drinks, lots and lots of snacks. They roast their peanuts fresh and out every day. 6 great flavors of slushies. Ready to drink cocktails, High Noon, Jack Daniels, Crown Royal. And the pickle bar led by the Barrels and the Dills, indeed second to none. All at Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket. It is always a pleasure on my part because I've had the privilege of working with him so many wonderful years. Thomas Frank Carr on 3.com, Blue White Illustrated, one of the truly outstanding analysts out there. T. Frank, welcome back to the show. It's great to have you with us.
Hi, Steve. How you doing today?
I'm doing well, doing very well. Okay,
good.
So very few people break down tape as well as you do, video as well as you do. So I'll start with Drew Aller. And Drew Aller has been a constant subject for you for the last 3 years now. What are you seeing in his footwork and his mechanics? What do you like, and is there anything out there that gives you pause?
That's a great question. So I've been diving a lot, and I think the biggest difference in Drew is the decision-making and the things that are kind of mental with his grasp of the offense. The footwork and things like that, I think, is where he tends to go in and out in terms of consistency, and that's also a very mental thing because we've seen him do it perfectly, throw off platform, be accurate from multiple situations. To me, when those things start to get a little wobbly, I try to look for reasons why, and not just like the individual throw, but like let's take the game plan against FIU, where after it played out, what we saw, there were a lot of deep shots. James Franklin talked about getting Devontae Ross involved in the game. And it's just my personal observation that a lot of times in those situations when the game involves being aggressive with the football, pushing it downfield, I think Drew gets amped up. And when Drew gets amped up or stimulated by, the moment is when he tends to revert to some of his bad habits. And so that's my view of, how his mechanics and those things have, not been as consistent. And I don't necessarily believe in the big game thing. It's more to me about like the game plan specific stuff of what's being expected of him in that game. Go back to the Big Ten championship game against Oregon, which is pretty relevant for this week. They came out and they wanted to be aggressive, and they were going fast. They were using tempo. They were having him push the ball down the field. And then there were just moments where, on one play, he rides the option handoff a little too long, and there's the ball on the ground. And it's just, I think that's an area where he's getting better. He's talked about, the one-play mentality and flushing things after mistakes. Everyone has their weaknesses. Everyone has the things that they, that they struggle with and that they want to get better at. And I think that's one area where we've seen him develop, believe it or not, where it's not just a whole game thing where we've seen it in the past. This past weekend or this past non-conference season, I really only saw one game where the footwork and the mechanics were a thing. And it was really for half of a game. And then he came back in the second half and was much more effective. So we'll see how all of that plays out this weekend. But it's a conversation like on the details of is he opening his foot or opening his hip? Is he striding? I've I've learned to not go down too deep into those rabbit holes, because there are people out there like Brad Mendler who are actually very good at that stuff, who know much more than I do, and that can kind of speak to those very nitty-gritty details when it comes to footwork and mechanics and things like that.
You did do, though, a deep dive in breaking down a game of, was it his fault? Was it a receiver? Was it just how it was defended, which I thought was an outstanding article. It's interesting because the interception, there's no doubt, the interception he throws, it's a bad play. But what led to the bad play is the receiver that was the primary ran the wrong route. And because he ran the wrong route, now, you just have to take it and just throw it away. He didn't, and it ended up being a pick. But when you broke that down, I know you always go in with it objectively, but were you surprised at all by the results as to how many really weren't his fault and how many actually were?
Yeah, I actually was. And part of it was, so there was this narrative of Drew Aller's not seeing the field, and he's not making decisions. He's not being whatever with the football. And, a lot of this comes from, our view of the game, which is, to a fan's no fault of their own, you don't get to see the full picture. You get to see maybe 20 of the 22 players on a play if you're lucky. And so there's a part of the game that happens off the screen you don't see. And that's the part where I think it's my job to go in and say, okay, what's actually happening on these plays when I can show you these examples? And I don't have it in front of me, but I believe there was a drop ball and 3 wide receiver errors on plays. So I went through and I charted all of his incompletions, because I'm not going to argue about a ball that's complete. We don't have time. I don't have time in my day to go through every single one of his passes, although I do every weekend on the Blue White Illustrated message board. I break down every play on offense and defense and give an answer and, at least some comment on a play, and have people with video, you can watch along and see what I'm seeing when I'm watching the film. But in this particular article, I just did the incompletions. And here's the thing. Villanova doesn't care about your opinion of Drew Aller. They're going to do whatever they want to do on that play to take away his primary read and put him in a situation where there are no throws available. And there are a couple of plays where that was absolutely the case, where they're dropping 8 defenders into coverage so they can do things with their formations and where they place defenders on the field that take away what Penn State wants to do. Schematically, is it concerning that they were able to predict where the first read was going? A little bit, but any team that's going to rush just 3 defensive linemen is conceding a certain part of the game and is operating a tactic that means hey, we're not on the same playing field here. For the most part, that's how I feel when you're playing drop 8 14 times in a game. So of those incompletions, I believe it was 3 were quarterback error, meaning he missed the throw. It was an inaccurate throw or he missed the read. One being that interception you referenced. And a vast majority of the incompletions were dead plays where the coverage won, and then receiver errors where they ran a wrong route. The overthrow to Devontae Ross, I actually went back to last year against Maryland to find Amari Evans running the same play. And you can go to BlueWhiteIllustrated.com. You can check out the article, and you can see the video. Drew puts the ball in the exact same spot in the end zone for both routes. Now, remind you, it is the exact same play, formation, alignment, same targeted route. He puts the ball between the blocks on the E in the end zone in both of those throws. So on the broadcast, when Mark Elfrich is saying oh, Drew missed that throw and he should have thrown that flat, that's incorrect. The receiver ran the wrong route. The receiver was supposed to make that a vertical push, and Drew's throwing to a spot on the field because that's the spot he's hit for 2 years in a row. So, these are the details and the context that go into James Franklin has talked about, people not knowing what's going on the play. And I don't know what's going on the play. I'm just trying to provide as much context and research, and I've watched this offense for long enough to try and get as close as I can to the truth. And a lot of times we're making these snap judgments based on what we see on the game film when we're watching it live from TV, and then we never revisit our opinions or our thoughts because, that's honestly, for fans, that's probably what they should be doing. But then that's what I try to do is go back and find, okay, what did we learn that was incorrect, and how do we correct that to find out what the actual truth of the situation is?
Which then brings me to the pressure part of it. Neither quarterback has faced a lot of pressure through their opening games of the season. How has Drew been when he's been pressured? In other words, especially blitzed. And I got a feeling the answer is going to be a little bit different than what people are thinking of here. I think it's actually a lot better than people realize.
Yeah, he's the top quarterback in the Big Ten when it comes to his productivity against the blitz. And
you can't
this
say
is something that I thought early in his career he had to get better at, and he did.
Frank, you can't say that. People don't believe you. No, I'm just kidding.
I know.
How could you possibly say that?
This is the thing, right? So we talked about we talked about the game plan and the ambient pressure of Drew's got to throw the ball down the field, and I think it is fair to say he is somewhat uncomfortable with throwing the ball down the field and wanting to follow the coaching and not overthrow his receiver. So despite the fact that he's got the strongest arm in America, some hyperbole there, he doesn't put a lot of mustard on the ball because if he does, he's going to overthrow everybody. It's kind of like the strong man that doesn't want to hurt a fly. And I think that is just he has never found the right amount of power to put on the ball so that he's following the coaching and throwing the ball correctly. But to your point of the actual pressure put on him by blitzing, he's 1,600 yards and 15 touchdowns. Both of those are first in the Big Ten since the start of the 2024 season. So Oregon does not produce pressure on the quarterback. I would even argue that their defense is not set up to produce pressure. It's part of the compromise they have of wanting to play odd and even fronts, so they don't have a true pass rusher. They got a bunch of big-bodied physical guys. Uiagalelei is not. He reminds me of a Jack Sawyer or of a JT Tuimoloau, where these guys are physical, edge-contained guys that can get pressure, but they're not. That's not their primary skill set. So if they're going to blitz, I think that is an advantage for Penn State with the unknown that Dante Moore hasn't played enough games for us to even know what he's like against pressure or when you blitz him. So there are some of these unknown factors in that particular matchup. But when it comes to Aller, he has been very good when under actual pressure and when he's been actually asked to throw the football into a blitz. Those things, he does not turn the ball over, and he makes good decisions, and he has been a productive player in those situations.
Yeah, that's if people wonder why, for example, Sawyer and JTT weren't first-round picks. The reason is because of the sack stuff. I mean, why is Stewart at Tennessee a first-round pick of the Cincinnati Bengals? Because they thought he was a pressure guy off the edge, right?
Yep.
That's the reason why. But conversely, Penn State has been a team that gets pressure, especially off the edge. Is that fair?
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that I know Penn State fans were concerned about with losing Abdul Carter, and Chaz Coleman's been great. It's the problem here is both teams haven't played another team that is at the caliber that they'll face this weekend. So they're going to be their best opponent so far. So a lot of these numbers are going to change. A lot of these things that I wrote about this week at Blue White Illustrated, they should come down in the natural progression of playing better opponents. Absolutely. But in the context, we agree, Steve, that neither team has faced a quality top 25 team so far, right?
That's right.
So the top 5 pass rushers in terms of winning their blocks and getting pressure on the quarterback, all 5 of them wear Penn State blue and white. Chaz Coleman, his win rate of how many times he's defeated a block and created a pressure is 42%. That's insanely high. Some of that is in late game situations, but there's also been in situations where he closed the game out, where FIU was in a situation where they were trying to come back in a game, and he was able to get a sack fumble and create pressure. Denied in the Sutton, and the one that I'm really interested in and seeing how this progresses is Xavier Gilliam. Penn State hasn't really had an interior pass rusher with consistent ability to generate, distress for the offense. I give Robert Windsor a little credit here. I think he gets a little bit overlooked, but obviously Kevin Givens is the name everybody remembers. Mm-hmm. Gilliam is at 27% winning on pass rushes in the interior. Then it's Ivan Kamaju, Jalen Harvey, and then you get to Uiagalelei, who's at just under 15% of his rushes are generating pressure. So this is what I'm talking about when I say I don't think they're as talented at rushing pass rushing as they were in the Big Ten championship game last year without Derek Harmon, who's now a Steeler and a first-round draft pick. They bring slightly less athletic burst at the quarterback this year, and that's their high watermark is Uiagalelei off the edge. So for the pressure battle, absolutely Penn State has a massive advantage in the trenches.
Which now brings me to something else that's interesting. When Jim Knowles came here, one of the areas that you looked at his Oklahoma State and his Ohio State stops was the use, and he described this in his opening press conference, the use of, quote, the jack.
Yeah.
Chaz Coleman seemed to do that in the Villanova game. Explain to everybody what that means and how Coleman handled it.
Steve, do you have another 40 minutes? Because this is my favorite thing of the season so far. It was kind of like, I imagine that's how people feel like when they see a UFO on film when they're watching back their cell phone footage, or they feel like they saw the Loch Ness Monster or something. I was like, did I just see what I saw? The great thing is, like, I have high res video, and it's not some grainy cell phone footage. So here's what it is. Jim Knowles, his philosophy here is that you want to create as much problem for the offense as possible pre-snap and post-snap, and everyone wants to be multiple up front on defense. And what does multiple mean? We've talked about it a lot this year with James Franklin, Jim Knowles. Everyone mentions multiple. It means you can go from a 3-down defensive line front with 3 defenders that are actually on the defensive line to a 4-down front. The jack linebacker, in essence, allows him to play a 3-down front with a guy who roams around the front and inserts, and he can go from a 3-down concept to a 4-down concept whenever he wants. So this jack linebacker is a hybrid player who's big enough to handle run fits like a defensive lineman, but is athletic enough in space that if you need to, you could drop him, you could blitz him into a gap, you could move him into the flat, you could do a bunch of these different things. And he's talked about it as, I'm calling plays for that player, and that player has a specific role on the team. So what we saw against Villanova was literally one play, and I went back and I looked at all the data, I looked at all the film for Penn State's defense the rest of the season. The only time they've ever been in a 3-down front has been on 3rd and long, where they have been in their pass rush package. Yep. This was 2nd and 13. He lined up as a 2 yards off the ball and attacked a specific gap on an RPO play. So, like, that is the definition of everything I saw from the jack linebacker at Oklahoma State when he was using it. Whether they use it or not, how it's deployed, when it happens, I have no clue. He talked about Chaz Coleman. Here's the other thing: is like he talked about Chaz Coleman as a liking everything about him, but they don't know how he would perform against a team that can run the ball and has more sand in their pants as a run blocking unit, which would describe this particular team. Right. If you wanted to maybe protect somebody like Chaz Coleman and give them matchup advantages, you might move him around the formation a little bit.
Well, what helps is that Coleman's to play that position, you have to have the physical traits he has, but you have to be smart. And he's just a kid, but you can tell he's smart as to how he plays out there. I mean, he's got ways to go, but you can tell he's smart. You have to be smart to play that spot.
Yeah, he's been, and this is no disrespect, but this is just a comparison. For example, he's made fewer mistakes as a run defender in terms of his fit and making sure he's in the right gap and not getting beat out by a defender than Jalen Harvey, who's a year older. And, they're both – and Jalen Harvey's been in the defense since it got here with Jim Knowles in February, so he even has a time advantage on Chaz Coleman. Those are really impressive things. And, again, I think Jalen Harvey is playing just fine, but it's abnormal for a freshman to be one of the more productive and trustworthy players when it comes to where is he and is he doing what he's supposed to be doing on every play. It's just super impressive, and that speaks to what you just talked about of you have to be smart. You have to be intelligent to be able to do all of those things, especially given the time horizon we're talking about with Chaz Coleman. So it stands to reason if you're saying, I'm going to give this guy detailed responsibilities on a play, and it's somebody who has to be able to handle it, and it's going to be very specific, that feels like if it's a freshman like Chaz Coleman, he might be able to handle that role in that situation.
Very impressive indeed. As always, T. Frank, tremendous. Appreciate it. Hope Zoe's doing great, and look forward to seeing you this weekend.
Yep, same to you, Steve. Enjoy the next couple hours. It's going to get crazy here. It probably already is. I'm heading downtown to meet up with some friends for the first time in a while, so I'm excited to see how long it takes me to get downtown.
Enjoy it. Okay, appreciate it. Hey, thanks so much. Have a great time.
You too. See you, Steve.
The outstanding Thomas Frank Carr on 3.com, Blue White Illustrated. And this half hour has been brought to you by our good friends at Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket. Imports, domestics, microbrews, the best selection of beer anywhere. Wine coolers, water, soft drinks, snacks. They roast their peanuts fresh and out every day. 6 great flavors of slushies. And ready-to-drink cocktails, High Noon, Jack Daniels, Crown Royal. The Pickle Bar, led by my personal favorites, the Barrels and the Dills, indeed second to none. All at Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket, as we continue on News Radio 1070 WKOK.
Party time, game time, or just fun time. Doesn't matter what time it is because it's Brewers Outlet time. The beverage supermarket has the area's largest beer selection. Imports, microbrews, ciders, and domestics. Pick from over 100 ice-cold 12-packs and dozens of 24-ounce singles. Soda, snacks, hot sauces, fresh roasted peanuts. Make it one-stop party shopping, and don't forget the Pickle Bar. So whatever you're celebrating or just doing it up, Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street, Sunbury wants to see you. And thank you for your years of patronage.
Hey, when's the street fair this year? You mean the 46th annual Selinsgrove Market Street Festival? Yeah, that. Yeah, well, it's happening on Saturday, September 27th from 8:30 to 4 p.m. with lots of shopping, food, fun, and music, as usual, right in the heart of downtown Selinsgrove. The Selinsgrove Area High School Marching Band kicks off the day, followed by live performances from Selinsgrove Dance Studio, Burns Taekwondo, and more entertainment all day long. They'll have around 160 or more vendors featuring handmade jewelry, local honey, crafts, games, civic groups, and exciting new stands to discover. Kids will love the petting zoo. Plus, there'll be plenty of family fun for all ages. But the best part is the delicious food, of course. And don't worry about parking. Free parking and shuttle services are available at the Selinsgrove Area High School. So mark your calendar, Saturday, September 27th. See everything about the Selinsgrove Market Street Festival at selinsgroveprojects.org.
September means the return of football, everything pumpkin spice, and the September Serrano sale at Sunbury Motors Kia.
Wanna see ya in a Kia. Sunbury Motors Kia.
That's right, the September Serrano sale is on, and SMC has 10 2025 Kia Serrano turbo models with $1,000 in Kia Finance bonus cash and as low as 0% APR financing for 48 months. The 2025 Kia Serrano hybrids have as low as 0.9% APR for 48 months with an additional $500 in Kia Finance bonus cash. And Sunbury Motors Kia has 2025 Kia Serrano S all-wheel drive models starting at just over $35,000. Remember, every new Kia comes with a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty. It's a September to remember. The September Serrano sale at Sunbury Motors Kia on the Strip in Hummel's Wharf and at sunburymotorskia.com.
Bringing you an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Sunbury Motor Company, Purdy Insurance, and Brewers Outlet. Now from the Sunbury Motors Studio, here's Steve Jones.
This half hour being brought to you by our good friends at Purdy Insurance, Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. Auto, home, life, business, boat, motorcycle, RV, Medicare. Steve Engel does an incredible job with guiding you through the Medicare process. Remember, the open enrollment period for Medicare opens up October 15th. Do everything they can to make sure you're fully insured. I know they did with me. And save money. And they did everything, the same thing. I was able to save money because they found me the right insurance, right deal. And it's always important that when I talk about our sponsors that I'm a customer. That way I can tell you straight out what the deal is. Really important. Really important. It's all at our good friends at Purdy Insurance, Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. So, Todd, remind me where you are tonight.
I am going to Loyal Sock for Loyal Sock in Lewisburg.
Okay. Well, that's actually a pretty interesting game, right?
Yeah, Lewisburg is one of those teams that is 1-4, but is way better than their record indicates. But they just are going through, like they fell behind 21-0 last week to Warrior Run, but Warrior Run needed to stop them on a quarterback sneak under a minute left to win the game. They just haven't put a full 4 quarters together, and they're going to have to tonight to win this one.
Wow. Okay. And this is what, week 6? Week 6. Jeez. Can you believe it's already week 6? This is the second half of the season.
We were talking on our football podcast earlier this week. The first week of playoffs is the Friday night of Halloween.
Yeah, there's a part of me that bothers me. I mean, I understand to do the playoff thing. I got that. But I don't know. Yeah, I can't change it. I can have an opinion. And as you know, like anytime I see, and we've got 8 teams in the playoff. Yo, dog, no. You do not have 8 playoff teams. You may have 8 teams playing in the playoff, but they are not 8 playoff teams.
It's funny because looking up some stuff over the summertime, high school football season sometimes didn't start to either this week or last week, like back in the 60s and the 70s. Yeah.
Oh, no, I mean, you go back in college football, you see when Jack played, how late into September they started the season. Really? And then, they'd end the season. I told the Liberty Bowl story the other day where they end the season, and okay, because, they only played, 9-10 games? And Rip Engel needed advice. How do I handle this long gap between now and the game with Alabama and the Liberty Bowl? And, Bobby Dodds told him to put in a play. I told that story. And they put in the fake field goal, and it turned out it was the winning play in the game. They won 7-0. But it was different back then. The seasons were much shorter. And look, everything's longer. The NHL just expanded from 82 to 84 games. The NBA plays 82. The players don't want to play 82. They made that painfully obvious. Okay, but they play 80. But they have an 82 game schedule. Football, NFL 17. You know darn well. You and I both talked about this. It's going to be 18 at some point. Baseball went from 154 when I was a little kid, and I was only a little kid when there was 154 to 162. And I've always been of the thought process. And college basketball, by the way, when I started out doing Penn State, it was 27 games. Next year it goes to 32, and that does not include the tournament. So you're going to have 27 regular season games. When I started out my career of broadcasting Penn State basketball, it's going to be 32 regular season games next year.
Todd speaking.
Now, do I think that seasons might be better if they were a little shorter? Maybe. All right. What do we have?
We have Doug from Wellsboro, sir.
Duggar. How are you today, Doug?
Steve, how many rounds of golf are you doing between now and tomorrow night?
I'll play 9 holes tonight. I'll play 9 holes tonight. I mean, I'll after practice today. Practice will end about 4:30. I can get 9 holes in, be done by 6, and then I was just going to put my feet up, watch. I think Florida State's playing Virginia tonight, so I'll probably sit back and watch that. And tomorrow, I was going tomorrow. This it always drives people nuts. We're having work done on our deck. You know, we're having lattice put around it and so forth. And I've been staining to match the deck all the extra pieces they're putting out there. And there's a couple pieces they put on that they didn't tell me they were putting on. So now I've been staining it. I think by tomorrow it's actually going to be all done. And then I'll go over and do the game.
No mowing the lawn today?
It rained this week. I'm considering doing something tomorrow. I may do that. I may go out. I may, because there's some leaves down and we have some pine trees around. So I may go out and I may swing around and cut it, especially in the backyard because of the rain this week. So yeah, I may do that for about an hour tomorrow.
That's all your demand, Steve.
Well, I don't worry about. See, people act like I've had so many people come up to me this week and say, "I don't understand why you're so calm." I go, "What do you want me to do?" I'm ready to go. Start the game. Between now and then, I got stuff to do. I mean, I got the game all prepared. I've been to every practice. I've watched video. I've talked privately with some of the coaches to get their impressions of things. I'm done. My deck needs some help, so I went and helped it.
I have 2 quick questions for today.
Sure.
Oregon, I know they're staying in Altoona. How did they travel to Altoona? Did they come through Harrisburg? Did they land at University Park and go to Altoona? Did they come in separate jets? How did they get there?
Well, they're flying in this afternoon, so I think they're still in the air right now. They're flying into University Park, or I guess it's now called State College Regional Airport. And they're going to go from there, and they're going to bus down to Altoona. They're going to stay at the Blair County Convention Center, which is a big enough area, Doug, for meals, and it's also a big enough area to do walkthroughs. You have to take that into account. And then they're going to bus up to State College at whatever time they deem appropriate as to what their workout schedule is. And then they're going to fly out of University Park back to Eugene. So they're actually flying in and out of here.
Do you think jet lag will have any impact on the game? You know what Arizona did back in the 90s? They flew in the night, or what was it, the day before or something?
They did, yeah.
It was a noon game that time. Do you think jet lag will have any impact at all?
See, I'm not a big believer in that, Doug. Now, maybe I'm not a big believer on a personal basis because I can't explain it, Doug. I don't get jet lagged. I have people describe it to me. I'm like, no, I don't feel that way. I feel the same way as I did when I woke up in the East. I don't feel differently. So I never think that's a real issue. The only thing I do think can be an issue if you're a West Coast team, and it doesn't play into this game at all, is if you play at noon, then it's 9 o'clock on your body clock. I mean, that's the only part that plays in it for me. Like, oh man, I got to get up at what time to go to this game? You got to be kidding me.
I was talking to some people earlier this week, and did Arizona fly in the afternoon before and then play that? Was it a noon game? Do you remember?
Yeah, it was an early game. Yeah, it was the 99 game with Arizona was a noon game. They flew in the day before. But, last year Penn State played UCLA in a noon game. UCLA flew in the day before. See, everybody's trying to figure out how to do this, Doug. And to this point, like I'll give you an example. Curt Cignetti. Penn State's going to go out to UCLA next week, and they're going to leave on Thursday, which is the same thing they did last year for USC. Okay. All right, that's fine. It worked out, won the game. But Curt Cignetti, he leaves at 4 o'clock for every road game. Well, they're like, well, Curt, you're going to be playing in the Rose Bowl. we're leaving at 4 o'clock, and they left at 4 o'clock, and they won the game. They didn't play that great, but they won the game. So I think everybody is still in the process, Doug, of trying to figure out what to do. When when Oregon went to Northwestern, they went Thursday. Why? Because the game was at noon, 9 o'clock Pacific time. Because the game is at night, 7:30, 4:30 on their clock, that's why they're coming in today and not coming in. It did not come in yesterday. Because it's a night game, which is also 4:30 on their body clock. Northwestern, they went Thursday because it was 9 a.m. on their body clock.
Okay, I understand that. My second quick question. I know Tez Johnson was last year. How is Penn State going to handle that Jacarian Moore and especially Sadiq? I mean, I am definitely afraid of them. Mm-hmm. Penn State plays a good game. Oregon hits one or two big plays, and it's, they're up by 10, 14. How in the world do you cover those guys?
Well, let's start with Sadiq. I think Sadiq is to Oregon what Tyler Warren was to Penn State last year. I think on that team, offense, defense, I don't care what position it is, I think Sadiq is the best player. That's just my opinion. I just think Kenyon Sadiq is the best player they have. So he's going to have to draw the extra attention. Moore's interesting. Moore has great straight line speed. Great straight line speed. And I think he's been pretty good at the back shoulder throw. He's not a great route runner. See, Tez Johnson and Stewart, the two receivers last year, great route runners, Doug. Great route runners. That doesn't define Moore. Moore is faster than they are, and he can get behind you, but he's also not the greatest route runner because he's just a kid. He's still learning how to do it.
Yeah. All right, well, we'll be listening on the radio, Steve, and we'll be keeping track of the list of names. We'll be interesting to see what you come up with for tomorrow night.
Look, I got Wellsboro in. You know that.
Yes, you did. Thank you very much for that.
The names, I'm actually getting people making suggestions now. I'm then getting thanked by people for mentioning their town. I'm sitting there like, I'm just having fun with it. Yeah.
Tomorrow night, Mansfield. Come on.
I think that's a logical one. I mean, look, I just do it because I think broadcasting a game should be fun, and we have a lot of great towns in this state. I mean, like great towns. Everybody can talk about Philly and they can talk about Pittsburgh all they want, but we have a lot of great towns in this state that are the part of the heart and soul of the state, and so I love mentioning them. I have a good time doing it. And evidently,
you could say Loreysville, but only you and me would know where that is. So,
well, you know that my dad grew up in Warren Center in Loreysville. That's where my dad grew up. So Warren Center, Loreysville. Like this week, James was explaining that he went to Montrose. He says, "You probably don't know where it is." This, he says to the crowd. I looked over and go, "I do." I've been there. Dad took me. Been there. So,
all right.
Yeah.
Thanks for your time today, Steve.
All right. Thanks, Doug. Appreciate it. We'll come back with more in a moment. Brought to you by good friends at Purdy Insurance here on News Radio 1070 WKOK.
Hi, this is Season. For over 100 years, the Purdy Insurance Agency has been protecting families and businesses of the greater Susquehanna Valley and beyond. With the experience of our trained and knowledgeable staff, you can rest assured that your needs will be evaluated and met by some of the industry's best representatives. No matter what your insurance needs are, call Purdy Insurance today at 570-286-5855. Visit our website at purdyinsurance.com or check us out on Facebook to see what we can do for you.
Fall in Central PA means hunting season, football games, and tailgates. Make sure you're rolling up in a brand new Ford from Sunbury Motors Ford. Over 30 2025 Ford Explorers are ready to roll with discounts up to $6,200, starting at just $38,530. 16 2025 Ford Escapes are here with prices slashed up to $9,000 off. Priced from only $26,770. That is Sunbury Motors Ford's lowest price ever. And for truck season, over 70 Ford F-150 F-Series trucks in stock with discounts up to $10,416. That's right, a brand new F-150 for under $45,000. Load up for the big game, gear up for hunting season, or just hit the road this fall in the Ford you've been waiting for. Sunbury Motors Ford, the North Forest Rate Auto Plaza in Sunbury and at sunburymotors.com. Run by the Mertz family for 110 years.
Sounds like a familiar tune. This half hour brought to you by our great friends at Purdy Insurance, Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. All right. So it sounds like we're going to have the King today.
It does.
It must be a big game.
He said he was coming, and he mentioned he made a fantasy football trade.
He made a fantasy football trade. I
think they created a monster when they put him in that league.
Wasn't he the commissioner of the league or something at one point? Or no, maybe that was the cornhole thing, right?
Yeah, I think that was the cornhole thing.
Yeah. Commissioner, I mean, everybody's been promoting Saban for the commissioner of college football. Why not the King?
He's retiring. He'll have the time.
Yes. But the other day, I'm sitting there and with friends, we had breakfast. And he says, I got to go to work. And he looks at one guy, retired, looks at another guy, retired, looks at me, says, retired. I said, I stopped teaching class. I'm not that retired. He said, last I checked, I'm on the air Saturday.
But you didn't have anything to do till 1 o'clock.
I had one thing, yeah.
Well, one.
There's one other thing I had to do before 1 o'clock. And then afterward today, I'm on in Portland, Oregon at 5:20. After practice. I'll go to practice. And I'm not going to go to basketball today. Basketball was off yesterday, but today I'm going to football at the same time. 5:20, I'm on in Portland, Oregon, and I'm on in Omaha, Nebraska at 6:15. Then tomorrow morning, I'm on in Atlanta at 10:40 or something like that. Yeah. But they're all like 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes. It doesn't take up that much time.
Will you be on the tee box this afternoon for the radio interviews?
I will probably be in the fifth fairway. At least my hope I'm in the fairway. Yeah. cross my fingers. And then when I do the other one, I probably will be on the 8th or 9th hole at that point. I'm only going to play 9 holes. I don't know. I mean, I cut my right index finger, so we're going to give it a shot and see how it feels. I feel I'm bandaged. I actually cut it pretty good, but I was doing work. Darn manual labor. And when it happened, my first thought was, this is why you hire people. But I'm too cheap. So.
There goes your hand modeling career.
What was it? George Costanza?
Yeah.
Wanted to be a hand model?
Yeah.
I want to be a hand model. I'll tell you right now, could they do that same show today? Woo.
Not all episodes.
No. So Europe up 3-1 in the Ryder Cup. Afternoon foursomes. Europe is leading 2, America leading 2.
WKOK Sunbury.